Hello, everyone. You're welcome to my YouTube channel again, Animal Farming with Suraj. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do that right away. When you come across this video, please like it. And don't forget to click on the notification bell so that you can keep getting notifications on our subsequent teachings. It won't cost you anything. All right, let's dive to the teaching of today. I want to talk on snail aestivation and hibernation. I know some of us may have come across these words, but we don't know their meanings. Or we may have come across snails that have a whitish substance covering the aperture of their shell, but we don't know what that means or what causes it. If you are in that category of people, then ensure that you stay glued to this video so that you can learn. All right. Snail aestivation or hibernation is a period of dormancy in snails whereby the snails become inactive and their metabolic rate reduces. Let me take it again. Snail aestivation or hibernation is a period of dormancy in snails whereby the snails become inactive and their metabolic rate reduces. Aestivation in snails happen mostly during the dry season. Then hibernation happens mostly during the raining season. The next thing that comes to mind is, how will you know that a snail is aestivating or hibernating? Okay, so for those of us who may have seen a snail that has a whitish substance covering the aperture of their shell, know that that snail was either aestivating or hibernating. So even if you haven't seen a snail of such, from henceforth, know that whenever you see a snail having a whitish substance covering the aperture of its shell, know that that snail is either hibernating or aestivating. So, aestivation or hibernation happens whenever the environment where the snails find themselves have an unfavorable condition. So whenever the condition of the environment where the snails are becomes so unfavorable, they enter into the state of dormancy. The main reason for this state of dormancy is because they want to protect themselves from the unfavorable condition of their environment. So that is what leads to the production of that whitish substance you see covering their aperture. This whitish substance has a name. Yes, it is called epiphragm. Look at the screen, you will see the spelling. It is called epiphragm. So whenever the environment becomes unfavorable for a snail, it will produce that whitish substance called epiphragm. This epiphragm could either be in thin layers or it could be in a thick lead. So when the layers of it is just thin, if it is light layers, it is called mucous epiphragm. And this mostly occurs when the state of inactiveness just started. So, but when the conditions that led to the state of their inactiveness isn't handled or aren't handled, that whitish substance increases in the level of thickness. So when it becomes a very thick lead, not light or transparent, then it is called a calcareous epiphragm. That means a snail can either cover itself with a mucous epiphragm, which is just a light layer of that whitish substance that you see. It can even be transparent, so meaning you can still see the flesh of the snail to an extent. So that is a way it can cover itself. Or it can cover itself with a thick lid of that whitish substance. And this thick lid of whitish substance that it uses to cover itself is called a calcareous epiphragm. So this happens when the conditions of the inactiveness or that led to the inactiveness are not handled. So that thickness increases because the snails have found out that it's like there's no hope for us here. Let's keep protecting ourselves from whatever condition that led to that state of dormancy. Okay, so I've told us what snail aestivation and hibernation means, and I've also told us how we would know that a snail is estivating or hibernating. Now, let's now talk about the factors that can lead to snail estivation or hibernation. The factors that can lead to snail estivation or hibernation are if the environment where the snails find themselves is too dry, that's one. Secondly, when the place is too hot, that is the temperature of the environment where they find themselves is too hot. Thirdly, when the place is too cold, in as much as snails are cold-blooded animals, the place shouldn't be extremely cold. Like it shouldn't be beyond their normal cool temperature that they desire. Then another reason is when they are trying to prevent the loss of their moisture content. Don't forget that I said the main reason why the snails estivate or hibernate is because they are trying to protect themselves from the unfavorable condition of the environment where they find themselves. So with that whitish substance, it helps to cover them. Remember the snails walk on their skin. Yes, the skin is what they use as their food. I'm using that word skin because that's where we eat in the snail. So let me use the word flesh. The flesh of the skin is what they use to walk. So where they find them, if where they find themselves become too hot, you know how soft that place is. It will be too uncomfortable for them. They can't walk on a place that is too hot. So the main thing is they will try to protect their flesh. And you know that the shell it is when you talk about the body of the snail, the shell takes more of its composition. So if it gets to an extent that the shell cannot do proper justice for them for protection, if it gets to that point, then that whitish layer will be produced. So for a situation to get to that extent that the shell can't protect the snails well, that means it is bad. So it isn't good that we let our snails get to such a condition rather, so that they can be healthy and okay at every point in time. So back to what I was saying. Those are the reasons why a snail can estivate or hibernate. So you who is rearing snails or who has decided to practice snail farming, make sure that at every point in time, the condition of the environment or the housing unit you want to use or you're using for your snails is ideal. Let the temperature be ideal at all times. All times. Let the place it shouldn't be too dry. At all times, ensure that the environment has a favorable condition for the snails so that the snails will not estivate and so that they wouldn't hibernate. Having said the reasons that could lead to snail estivation or hibernation, the next thing I want to talk about is the major disadvantage of estivation or hibernation. Remember that I said when snails are estivating or hibernating, they will cover up themselves with a whitish substance. By the time a snail has covered itself with that whitish substance, it's obvious the snail will not eat. The snail will not eat. The snail will not drink water. The snail will not carry out any of its normal activities anymore. And the funny thing is that a snail that is estivating or hibernating, that has covered itself with that whitish substance because it is produced from inside, or that whitish substance, which is the epiphragm, let me be using the right word, the epiphragm, that the epiphragm is used to cover, that snail won't be able to carry out any activity again. So the major disadvantage of estivation or hibernation in snails is that the snails reduces their metabolic rate. Remember that part of their activities is eating, drinking water, moving around, and reproduction and all of that. So by the time a snail is unable to carry out these normal activities that it should carry out, where is the opportunity for the snail to convert the food, the water, and every other thing that it will take that it's supposed to use to carry out its normal activities, it won't be able to. The snail will not be able to do that anymore. So the disadvantage is poor growth rate. In fact, it will lead to stunted growth. Reproduction will not happen, and the snail may not survive. So these are the three disadvantages of estivation or hibernation. One, poor growth rate. Secondly, reproduction won't happen. Thirdly, the snails may die. So we see that estivation or hibernation in snails is something that we should kick against. If we are rearing snails, we should ensure that we carry out all of the management practices that are right for the snails so that our snails will never enter that state. All right, this is just to enlighten us on snail estivation and hibernation. I believe you enjoyed this teaching. There is more. There is more. So if you want to keep getting more teachings on snail farming, other livestock farming, and aquaculture, then make this channel your number one YouTube search and ensure that you subscribe, you like our videos whenever you come across them, and click on the notification bell. It won't cost you anything. All right, see you next time.